in the thick of planning one of the biggest multi-day events of your life, your wedding. You're paying deposits, booking caterers, reserving venues, and ordering outfits for relatives you literally barely know. You think you've got a pretty good handle on it all, and then you open up your tracking spreadsheet and you see it. The universal nightmare of event planning. That terrifying, glaring red warning staring right back at you, telling you you're completely tapped out and bleeding money. It's the exact moment you realize you've lost track of your vendors and your budget is spiraling totally out of control. Man, we have all felt that panic, or at least the absolute fear of it.
But hey, what if you never actually had to see that warning? Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving right into the source material to completely demystify the financial and logistical complexities of a massive, multi-day wedding. We're going to explore a really comprehensive global tracking tool derived directly from our source that literally turns the absolute chaos of wedding planning into a beautifully organized, totally stress-free system. By the end of this, you're going to know exactly how to structure your finances, manage your vendors, and completely command your timeline.
So, here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, we'll look at the wedding planning problem. Second, setting your master budget. Third, tracking every single penny. Fourth, managing your vendor team. And finally, number 5, the ultimate countdown timeline.
Let's jump straight into Section 1, the wedding planning problem.
All right, let's dive into this. We can see what stress looks like quantified the moment you check your totals. There's a massive total spent figure and a terrifying red status screaming over budget. In this specific example, we're dealing with a huge 11-lakh 50,000 amount deep in the negative. When you're managing multiple days, a sangeet, mehendi, haldi, shadi, and the reception, the money goes out so incredibly fast and to so many different people. Without a central nervous system for your money, financial disaster is practically guaranteed.
And here is an absolutely crucial point. This problem is entirely universal. The source material specifically notes that whether you are using US dollars, British pounds, euros, Indian rupees, or Pakistani rupees, the underlying logic is exactly the same. The math of preventing financial chaos simply doesn't care where you live. This framework adapts instantly to your local currency, which makes it a truly global solution for a very universal headache.
Moving right along to Section 2, setting your master budget. Every successful project has to start with a baseline. Here, we're establishing a target master budget at exactly 15 lakhs. You just punch that target number in, and the tool instantly starts doing all the heavy lifting. By simply estimating the per function and expense categories, the system immediately flags a 150,000 over-allocated warning. It's like an instant reality check before you even sign a single contract. You know right out of the gate that your dreams are just slightly larger than your actual wallet, and you need to adjust.
So let's break that budget down. When you separate the event day by day, the distribution of wealth becomes incredibly clear. A whopping 33.3% of the total budget is eaten up by the Farahs or Shadi day alone. Then, the reception and Walima take another huge chunk at 26.7%. Meanwhile, your smaller, more intimate functions like the Haldi, they only require about 2.7%. This really shows you exactly where your financial priorities need to be focused.
Now, what's really interesting here is slicing the data differently by expense category instead of by the day. This data tells such a compelling story. Venue and decor command 26.7%, and catering and food require 23.3%. That means exactly half, 50% of your entire wedding budget is spent just on giving people a place to stand and something to eat. Factor in bridal outfits at 10%, and you've got over 60% of your budget tied up in literally just 3 distinct categories.
All right, on to Section 3, tracking every single penny.
This right here is the engine room of the whole operation. The expense tracker demands a line-by-line accounting of every single payment made and every balance due. This is exactly how you prevent that over-allocation we just talked about. By logging the date, the category, the specific vendor, the amount paid, and the outstanding balance, the system automatically subtracts from your master budget. It leaves literally zero room for mystery.
Let's bring these numbers to life with some real-world examples from the source material. Check out this expense log. On November 10th, there's a 25,000 amount log for DJ Rohit's sound system, marked as yes for paid with a quick note saying it was an advance. 10 days later, we see a massive 1,20,000 entry for Asabia Sachi Lenga. But look closely, the paid status is no, with a note reminding the planner that the final fitting is still pending. This level of granularity ensures you know exactly who has your money and who is still waiting for it.
And this is the magic of tracking everything so meticulously.
All those individual line items automatically feed into a per-function cost breakdown. You get an instant, real-time health check on every single day of your wedding. Take the Sangeet ceremony. It had a budgeted amount of $120,000. It shows an actual spent amount of $60,000, calculating instantly that you are exactly at 50% of your budget for that specific function. No guessing, no scrambling with calculators, just pure, actionable data.
Next up is Section 4, Managing Your Vendor Team.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you keep the logistical nightmare completely at bay, the vendor contact book. When you are dealing with decorators, caterers, makeup artists, and DJs, keeping all their contact names, phone numbers, quoted prices, and contract statuses in one central hub is an absolute lifesaver. You aren't digging through endless WhatsApp messages or buried emails to figure out what someone quoted you 3 months ago.
The immediate utility of this view is just incredible, especially for risk management. For instance, you can instantly see that Pooja Mehendi, with a $15,000 quote, is safely locked in with a yes for her contract. But then, look at Pixel Perfect Studio. They've quoted a hefty $120,000 for photography and video, but their contract status is no. That right there is an uncontracted risk. It tells you immediately that you need to follow up and lock them down before they get booked by someone else.
Finally, we reach Section 5, the ultimate countdown timeline.
Listen, a budget is completely useless if you miss your deadlines. Enter the concrete path forward, the pre-wedding checklist. In this specific scenario from our source, the tool tracks a massive 457 days leading up to a target wedding date of March 15, 2025. It lays out exactly what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and most importantly, who is actually supposed to make it happen.
Let's walk through these critical milestones together. At the 12-month mark, your absolute priority is booking the venue for all functions. At 6 months out, the pace really picks up. You need to order the bridal lehenga and book the DJ. By the 1-month mark, you are doing final outfit fittings. And 1 week out, making those final payments to all your vendors. What really makes this system work is delegating tasks to the bride, groom, family, or both. Assigning specific deadlines keeps the momentum going and ensures one person isn't carrying the entire mental load, or, having to constantly chase down the groom to book the DJ.
And then you finally arrive at the final sprint. The checklist totally changes tone as the actual days arrive. The day before is simply a final venue walkthrough. But from there on out, the tasks are just to enjoy the dance at the Sangeet, get gorgeous at the Mehendi, say your vows at the wedding, and celebrate at the reception. This proves that rigorous organization up front actually buys you the freedom to be completely present and joyful when the multi-day event finally begins.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. The goal of tracking every penny isn't to become some kind of spreadsheet robot. The goal is peace of mind. By taking the chaos of a massive event and structuring it beautifully, you completely remove the anxiety. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. With all your budgets mapped and vendors tracked, if you could reclaim the hundreds of hours usually lost to wedding planning stress, what would you do with that time instead? Think about how you can apply these clear organizational principles to your next big event. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.